New details revealed today in the investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The prosecutor in charge of the case outlining some of the incriminating evidence they have recovered, including evidence connected to the murder weapon.
DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger.
The prosecutor also outlining the timeline of all the events of the day, many which were caught on surveillance video, painting a much clearer picture of what happened on the day of the murder.
As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants.
And finally, perhaps the most revealing evidence to date, taking us inside the mind of the accused assassin. Text messages from the suspect to his roommate/lover, admitting to the crime and laying out his motive.
Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Tonight, all the latest as we continue our in-depth investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments and our continuing coverage of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And we've got a lot of new information to get to this hour. But I want to begin here with two of the highest profile cases that we were tracking that were supposed to go to trial this summer that ended up in plea agreements. I'm talking about the Idaho 4 killer and the man who killed little Madeline Soto. And we never found out why they did it. That question was never really answered. It wasn't required by prosecutors when they took the pleas. So you have the Idaho 4 killer, took out those 4 college students, and we can try to put things together, we can surmise, talk to experts, etc. But we never got it out of the mouth of the mass murderer himself why he did it. The same with Stephen Stearns, who was molesting this little girl for years, Madeline Soto, taking pictures of her. I don't know what he did with those pictures, and then killing her, murdering her and disposing of her body on the side of the road like a flat tire that he disposed in the same area. He never said why he did it either. So now let's talk about Charlie Kirk. Why was he killed? Well, the initial reaction from most of us was, you know, the theories would be obvious. He's a very public figure, a very prominent figure, and he has very particular political views and religious views that some people don't agree with. And his entire career was debating people who did not agree with him. So I think all of us kind of put that into the mix about what happened here, right? You know, someone didn't want to debate, they just wanted to silence him. And we kind of figured that would be the motive. So now we've got a suspect, the accused assassin, and we're wondering, well, why he did it. You know, why he did it. What's the reason why? So you can look at the actions, you can talk about what people have observed about him, and then you can look at his exact words, some revealing text messages that he sent. Text messages that he sent during the course of all of this to his roommate/lover, who was transitioning from male to female. And he's sending these text messages. There's a back and forth. There's an admission, a confession, if you believe these text messages, right? They may be challenged, but if you believe what prosecutors say they have and what they read, these communications back and forth, his roommate/lover asks him the exact question of why? Why did you do it? And he answers him. So I think in that context, he's not speaking to a psychologist, he's not speaking to an investigator, he's speaking to, I believe, the person he is closest to at the time of the murder, someone he cares a lot about. And I would presume telling the truth. So you're going to hear the prosecutor talk about those messages from the big press conference that was held today. First, we're going to go over some of the charges, and some of the charges are also connected to the roommate/lover. Take a listen.
Today, after reviewing the evidence that law enforcement has collected thus far, I am filing a criminal information charging Tyler James Robinson, age 22, with the following crimes. Count 1, aggravated murder, a capital offense, for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to others. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony. The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. The state is also charging defendant with count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for moving and concealing the rifle used in the shooting. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for disposing the clothing he wore during the shooting. Count 5, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating texts. Count 6, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to stay silent if police questioned him. And count 7, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor, for committing homicide knowing that children were present and may have seen or heard the murder and did so based on Charlie Kirk's political expression. Approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm gonna have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
Now, a lot of the cases that we cover on Court TV are about relationships and what happens in a relationship that sometimes leads to murder. I'm wondering, though, if there is any connection or nexus between the relationships that the accused assassin has, whether it's with his roommate/lover or with his father, that could play a role in what happened here. Here to weigh in on this is National Parenting and Family Relationship expert, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Dr. Sue, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. I know you're going to stick around for the whole hour, so that's great. Let's start first with the relationship between the accused assassin and his roommate/lover who is transitioning. Do you see a connection between that relationship and what he's accused of doing here to Charlie Kirk?
It's a great question, Vinny, and I think, yes, there probably is a connection between his roommate or his lover and his desire to assassinate Charlie Kirk here, because Charlie Kirk was somebody that challenged a lot of these beliefs about transgenders and things like that, and a roommate was transgendered, and I think that he was trying to protect him. If you listen to the text messages and he calls him love and all these things, we can speculate that he was very connected to him and that perhaps he was trying to protect him and other transgendered people from what was being said about them. So yes, there probably is some kind of connection there.
And what's interesting, you look at the words, he's like, I'm sorry to involve you. Don't talk to the media, you know, delete this text message. It seems that he wanted to make sure that his roommate slash lover isn't involved. Ironically, the roommate may be the star witness at the trial, providing a lot of this insight, because this is basically, we're talking about a confession in this text message exchange.
Look, when you're in love with someone, right, Vinny, and you trust someone, you're going to be vulnerable with them and share everything with them that is going on. And I think that's what was happening here. I think as this unfolds, you're going to see a lot more information come out about what this relationship was, what their conversations were, and how this came about. I think we just heard, too, that he was planning this for a week. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. You know, to me, this seems extremely premeditated. We will see more of that, too. But when you're in love with someone, you want to protect them. And possibly that is what was happening here. And he believed in his mind he was going to be a hero and he was going to protect his lover.
Yeah. And ironically, almost exposed him to being an accessory after the fact. If, in fact, he had deleted the text messages, not cooperated with authorities, the roommate would be in trouble. All right, let's talk about the other relationship here that came up in this, which is father-son. Referencing my father, ever since Donald Trump, he's gone ultra MAGA, right? And obviously that's aligned with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk supported President Trump, helped him get elected, for goodness sake. Do you think there's any part of that relationship that played a role in what he did to Charlie Kirk?
Well, I was thinking about this today, actually, before it came out in the news briefings, what was going on between him and his father. Now, this is speculation, but, you know, it's what I believe, or it's my opinion here. If his father was pro-Trump, then, and he knew that his son was transgendered or was gay or whatever was going on here, then there probably was a big rift here between the two of them, and he was possibly scared to tell his father what was going on. So look, Vinny, you know, as I talk about many times, we do not know what is going on behind closed doors. So that's something that's going to have to be investigated here as well.
Absolutely. All right, Dr. Sue Kornbluth is staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about the physical evidence against the accused assassin, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Tanya Wise was close to giving birth, the miracle of life, when she and her unborn baby were killed. The man accused, the baby's father, who was married to another woman. Did he kill to cover up his affair? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
A young mother found brutally murdered
Now, the victim's boyfriend, a married father of four,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you. I have reviewed your declaration of financial status and find that you are indigent. I'm provisionally appointing a Rule 8 qualified attorney to represent you on your case, Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8 and Rule 8C, under Rule 8B and Rule 8C for counsel appointment in a case where death may be a sentencing option.
There he is, the accused assassin, making his first appearance in court. It's remotely. He's still locked up at the jail, but the judge was in the court. And they're getting ready to provide him some representation in what is going to be an extremely high-profile, extremely serious case. Now, today, before all this happened, the lead prosecutor in the case, Jeffrey Gray, Utah County attorney, spoke about some of the evidence in the case and really gave us a much clearer picture of what they have in terms of physical evidence and video recordings as well. So let's take a listen to that part of today's press conference, because it really does shed a lot of light on this investigation and what will be the evidence in this trial.
At the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof only slightly below. The UV officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the suspected shooting position and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop, consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. This discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered campus from the north. He is seen wearing a black shirt with an American flag in the center, a dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railway off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained one spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, "No Tice's bulge, OWO, what's this?" The second cartridge that was again not spent, the last 3 were not spent, were not fired. The second, "Hey fascist, catch," with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." The fourth cartridge, "If you read this, you are gay," LMAO. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel.
A lot of evidence. I mean, a lot of evidence. Let's bring in our think tank. Still with us, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Let's bring in the rest of the tank. Former police lieutenant trial attorney Rick King and criminal defense attorney, former head New Jersey County prosecutor Bob Bianchi. Great to have everyone here. All right, Rick, to me, this is very strong evidence that we heard about today. You know, there seemed to be a few holes when we were getting bits and pieces of it, but the prosecutor laid it out. DNA on the trigger, Rick. DNA on the trigger.
Yeah, it seems pretty tight. Now, I mean, I think I always, when you talk about DNA evidence, I think about once the DNA evidence says that, hey, it belongs to this person, or it's one and such a number that is not this person, you go back to the beginning and you talk about transferred DNA or transferred evidence, things like that, or chain of custody. So there are places where you can still ask some questions and look for some discrepancies. But overall, it appears as though the evidence is pretty overwhelming. Yeah,
Bob, the way it's being laid out, it should almost quash all of the rumors on the internet tonight. Like, not even not just proving the case in a courtroom, but like the public that has all these different theories, right? About, it could be this one, that one. I mean, his DNA on the weapon, his DNA on a screwdriver on the roof where there's an impression in the gravel, his DNA on the towel that is wrapped around the weapon, the way he walked on, when he was walking in with that gait. If you look closely at the video, you can see the outline of the weapon down, halfway down the right leg and into his stomach. I mean, the pieces are together here, aren't they? Would you love this case as a prosecutor?
Oh my gosh, Vinny, you took the thought right out of my head. The answer, no. I hate this case as a prosecutor. I can only lose it. This case is so solid. The evidence is so amazing. You got the forensics, you've got a confession, you've got writings, and the thing that we haven't even, to your point, will the public be satisfied? Guess what else he had with him, because it was amateur hour, and as a prosecutor would get me nervous too. Wait till they download the phone. We know he had the phone with him because he was texting the lover at the time about trying to get the rifle, and he was hiding as they had cordoned the block off, which tells me as a prosecutor he had his phone with him. So this level of amateur hour, they're going to triangulate every single step, every location, not to mention all the pre-planning that he did. The only question I have in my mind, Vinny, is this statement that he writes, I had the opportunity to take him out. Where did he think he had that opportunity from? Where is that going to show up in either his computer or on his phone? Was somebody else involved in this? Was there a discussion about it? This thing about I had the opportunity jumped right out at me to dig further as an investigator. So euphemistically, would I love the case as a prosecutor? Yeah. But could I lose it? I mean, you can't lose this case unless you get an errant jury.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's a great point, Bob. I have the opportunity. Is someone else scouting the location? Because we know it's not in his backyard. Like, he's 4 hours away. Dr. Sue Kornbluth, the thing that strikes me, though, in his communications, it seems like at the time he still believes he's getting away with this.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think he believed the whole time he was going to get away with it. Why? Because it seems like it was so planned out. Every step was planned out so clearly beforehand that he had no doubt in his mind that he was going to get away with this.
All right, we're going to keep our tank with us when we come back. How were the accused assassins' parents involved in all of this? How were they involved in the surrender? We'll talk about that next.
Following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime. Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail.
I wasn't sure if that announcement was going to be made today, but it was, that they're seeking the death penalty. Early on, the governor talked about it. Then when they captured the suspect, no one said anything. And then today, the big announcement. The prosecutor also talked about the accused killer's parents and how the surrender was coordinated and some of the statements that were made. Take a listen.
On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in.
Big Tank still with us. Dr. Sue Kornbluth, Rick King, Bob Bianchi. Bob, are his mother and father witnesses now?
Absolutely. I mean, what a tortured, scenario for these folks. I mean, of course, they're going to be highly credible. There's admissions that are going on here. They are identifying him as a suspect from the video. So they're clearly going to be witnesses. Now, prosecutors don't want to put parents in that particular situation. Certainly, this prosecutor wouldn't. So there are times, Vinny, I have to be honest with you, there are times as a prosecutor where you say, do I have enough evidence without the need of putting the parents on the witness stand in a case that could lead to the execution of their child? And I think given all of the evidence that's in this case, this prosecutor, Bob Bianchi, would not put the parents on the witness stand. Plus, I'm not sure the jury would appreciate it either. Rick King, let me ask you about this. This is a death penalty case. Everything is at stake. What's the defense? What's the mitigating factor? If he's found guilty, what's the mitigating factor to save his life? Now, there's no traditional legal insanity out in Utah. Doesn't exist there. So what are we talking about here?
Vinny, I think that in order to save this guy's life, you have to come to the table early. I think that's the only thing that you can really do.
A deal?
Come to the table early.
Bob shaking his head. 0 to 10, what are the chances of a deal here in Utah on this one?
It's a really, I hate to say this, like where I said I didn't want to be a prosecutor because it was a really strong factual case. Legally, the death penalty is very weak here. Based on the aggravating factors of this state, it's not a question of what mitigating factors exist. It's whether an aggravating factor can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I got all 15 of Utah's aggravating factors here, and the only one they've got is a knowing risk of death to others. So what they may use the death penalty for, kind of like Koberger, although I would do it differently, is to leverage the life without parole plea, because this is a hard case for prosecutors to win on that little thin aggravating factor there, Vinny.
It's also a very public, I mean, it's a public assassination as well, based upon who the target was.
It's not an aggravating factor.
One of the factors.
Children at risk.
They're going to use children at risk?
Vinny, they're making a mistake. I'm sorry. The prosecutor, I think, is misstating. Those certainly are, quote unquote, aggravating circumstances to prove the guilt phase of a death penalty case, but it is not an enumerated aggravating factor pursuant to Utah's death penalty law. The only one. It's not children. It's not political views. I looked into this. I'm pretty confident in this answer. It's only knowing risk to others of committing death is the only aggravating factor. The other things are he's using aggravating factor with a small a.
Small a, not part of the statute. All right, Rick, I'll let you tie up this issue. Then I got a question for Dr. Sue. Go ahead.
My reply was just to Bob, and I think that he kind of covered it, but I think when they're going to talk about the children in presence, the risk to others, as well as the political speech. I think those things together make it more difficult. I agree with you in the sense that they're going to have a hard time getting there, which is why I say you got to come early with that and then bring them back down to life with no chance of parole.
All right, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, this is the part of the case I want to ask you about. His mother and father coordinated his surrender. They knew, because the governor said it more than once, this was going to be a death penalty case. So when they are convincing their son to give himself up, they know there is a strong likelihood that this is going to be a death penalty case. How difficult do you think that was for the parents, and what does that tell you about their relationship?
So, Vinny, it tells me a lot of things about the relationship. First of all, this is something that no parent wants to ever go through. It is horrific. And to make that kind of decision, it's gut-wrenching. But here's what I think. Somewhere inside of them, they knew, and probably knew for a long time, that their son was struggling and that there was nothing that they could do to prevent this anymore. And I'm sorry to say this, but at the end of the day, I think they knew that if they didn't put him in jail and turn him in, that they were not going to be able to do anything to help him either. And so they turned him in so he would not hurt anybody else in this way again.
Dr. Sue Kornbluth, Rick King, Bob Bianchi, amazing. Thank you so much. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, an expecting mother is brutally murdered. Police investigate and charge the unborn baby's father, who was married to another woman and now is facing a death penalty murder trial. How strong is the evidence? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series.
I've never seen anything like this.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. Season premieres September 27th.
Only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look at the big board. Big win for Mangione. That's Luigi Mangione, the accused killer. Interesting, he's back in court in New York. It's state court. They don't believe in transparency, so there's no cameras. But the good news is Alex Miller from Scripps News Group was there and has the latest on this big win for this accused killer.
A big win for accused murderer Luigi Mangione in New York's state case. The 27-year-old accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson just got his most serious charges thrown out. Mangione was charged with 2 counts related to terrorism. The judge said the district attorney's office put forward, quote, legally insufficient evidence. In his filing, Judge Gregory Caro said prosecutors argued Mangione intended to influence or affect the government by intimidation or coercion through his actions. He went on to say there was no evidence presented that the defendant made any demands of government or sought any particular governmental policy change, let alone that he did so by intimidation or coercion. He also said there was no evidence presented of a desire to terrorize the public, inspire widespread fear, engage in a broader campaign of violence, or to conspire with organized terrorist groups. A spokesperson for the district attorney's office tells Scripps News they will proceed on the remaining 9 counts, including murder in the second degree, which carries 25 years to life in prison. Judge Caro denied defense requests to delay and dismiss the case. Mangione's team had sought to do so because of the federal case, which carries the death penalty, arguing it's double jeopardy. The judge says it's too early to say. A source tells Scripps News they now expect to get a trial date at the next hearing on December 1st. The federal judge said she'd set a trial date on December 5th. The state case is expected to proceed first. Mangione looked pleased as he exited the courtroom, shackled and in a tan jumpsuit. There were roughly 24 women inside the courtroom appearing to support him and dozens outside the court with handmade signs. Alex Miller, Scripps News Group, New York.
With this win today and the loss for prosecutors, this is why the federal case is so important now. If you convict Mangione and you want him locked up for the rest of his life, it's going to have to be through the federal case, not the state case. 25 to life. It's New York. He'll get out. He's in his 20s. He's only in his 20s. He will be a free man after that public execution if convicted and sentenced only on the state charges in New York. All right, take a look at your screens, folks. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Claudia Shelby Rhodes. Claudia's only 15 years old and she's missing from Columbus, Georgia. She may still be in the local area. When she was last seen, her hair was dyed red. Her nose is pierced, and she may go by the name Shelby. If you see Claudia/Shelby, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Columbus Police Department in Georgia. Numbers on the screen. Don't go anywhere. I have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.